Valley Center City Council meeting for March 7th, 2023 is now in order. Excuse me. Roll call.
Mayor Cicerillo.
Here.
Councilmember Stamm.
Here.
Councilmember Evans.
Here.
Councilmember Bass.
Here.
Councilmember Anderson.
Here.
Councilmember Gregory.
Here.
Councilmember Kerstetter.
Here.
Councilmember Wilson.
Here.
Councilmember Colbert.
Here.
Please rise for the invocation followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for the blessing and the favor that you have upon this community. I pray, Lord God, you continue to give these leaders wisdom and good discernment as they lead us into our shared future. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
What does he do?
That's just drainage. All right, council, item 5, approval of the agenda. We do have one add to the agenda. It's under the presentations section. Herschel West from Waste Connections is here.
Move to approve the agenda as amended.
Second.
A motion is second. Is there any discussion? All in favor, raise your hands. Motion carries. Item 6, administration agenda, city council meeting minutes of February 21st, 2023.
Motion to approve the minutes of the February 21st, 2023 regular council meeting as presented.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, raise your hands. Motion carries. Thank you. Presentations and proclamations. We have a presentation from Herschel West with Waste Connections. Come on up, sir.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members. I was invited to show up. I think you guys had a few questions for me. And so I thought
Herschel,
I'd make it last month.
I'm the one that brought that up, and so I'm assuming I'm going to have the main questions.
Okay.
My concern, it's not a question. My concern is the recycling guys. First of all, is recycling guys not picking up larger boxes that are left outside of the container. I'm all for recycling, but I just find it odd that those boxes. I mean, and I'm not talking much larger boxes, not just small boxes, but because if they don't get picked up there, they just get shoved over to the trash side and end up in the trash anyhow. So I don't understand the logic behind that.
Labor intensive. We're doing this area wide, not just here in Valley Center. I mean, we've done it for years. It's just now we're actually doing it. The drivers were getting used to just picking up the stuff, and we were telling them, not we, but we need to follow these rules because the time that we were spending, not just in Valley, but just everywhere, it's taking a lot longer to dump that stuff. So if it's in the cart, it's easier to dump. I know I cut mine up. If I have like a big screen TV or something,
Yeah.
I cut it up, stick it in there.
Well, and it was kind of, and Mr. Clark explained it, but it kind of caught me off guard when, it had been being picked up regularly, and and I don't usually have large items that sit out there. And then one day it wasn't there, and it was still there, and I'm like, what happened?
Yeah.
So, okay. The other issue I had about that is where does the recycle go? It doesn't go to the landfill or to the transfer station here, does it?
It does. That's where it first goes. We have a floor. We have a huge floor.
Right.
Half of it is for trash. Half is for
Okay.
single stream recycle. We pile it up, put it in a semi, and ship everything to South Hutch.
Okay.
And all of our recycle goes to South Hutch. We
Okay. So
spend millions of dollars.
So
on that
see,
facility.
this kind of falls where maybe I should have asked a question and make assumptions, because I've been there,
Okay.
and all you do is you see the trucks pulling into that big canopy and just dumping, but not knowing what the guys in the front end loaders or where they're moving it. It just looks like everything's going to one place,
Yeah.
and then everything's getting pushed. Okay. Well, that actually answers the two concerns I had, and was the real issues. If I'm not mistaken, anybody else have anything
And I would be glad to give a tour of our facility if anybody's interested.
I might be willing to do that now that I know I misinterpreted what my eyes were telling me. So, Councilmember Kerstetter.
So to piggyback off of Mayor Cicerello, if the recycle bin is full, what are we supposed to do? Because if the trash bin is full, we can have up to 8. It used to be 8.
Yeah.
Trash bags, right? What is a customer or resident supposed to do if that has the case?
If they have both carts full,
Yeah.
I mean, they could bag it up as trash because we can't take bagged material in the recycle cart.
Right.
So if they just want to get rid of it and don't want to hold it for a week, they could put it in a plastic bag and set it next to the trash cart, and we'll dump it as trash. If that's what they want, if that's how they want to get rid of it.
Okay. Well, if we're doing, go for it.
Or if that's a regular ongoing issue, they do offer an additional recycle cart. Of course, that comes with an additional $9.38 fee per month to have an extra recycle cart. But that is something that you can have more than one recycle cart,
Right.
Just like you can have multiple trash cans.
Right. And I'm just talking those one-offs that Christmas is probably the best example. You have a bunch of boxes of Christmas. Not everything's going to fit in that recycle bin. So you're going to have stuff that could be recycled outside the bin. So I'm talking one-offs that it's a shame that we can't actually recycle everything. But if we have to put it in the trash, then that's what it's going to have to happen.
Yeah, I think he hit the point. I didn't clarify that. It's the one-offs, right? It's not. I don't think we have any citizens that are doing this on a weekly basis. Because if they are, then yeah, they probably should have 2 carts. It's just these one-offs, and like I said, I was caught by surprise on that. Because to be honest with you, he mentioned Christmas. When I put all my extra stuff out during Christmas, it was picked up.
And it's the driver.
Yeah,
I mean,
I got it. Okay. Anything else from you, sir?
Nope.
Councilmember Wilson.
I think this is a communication piece that's key to our citizens in town, that maybe there's an assumption that because of the rule of the 5 bags outside the trash, that also would go for recycling or thereof having a small box and broke down cardboard outside that. I think that's going to be something we probably need to speak to in the way of communications, just reminding our citizens that if they have extra on that recycle, that it will not be picked up, that it'll probably be picked up as trash, just so that they're all on the same page. Because I know I see in our neighborhood multiple times there are people that do have their boxes broke down. They have them nicely stacked inside another cardboard box right beside the recycling, and it doesn't get picked up. And I again, it's driver preference, I think, because I see it happening in some areas and I see it not happening in others in the city. And so I understand you're labor intensive, but also I know, our citizens are trying to recycle as well.
like I said, if it's something that's going to happen a lot, get a second cart, or they can.
No, I believe it's more one-offs. I don't think it's somebody that's out there every week, but yeah, I think that's something they has been happening. And then when it does change, if you've made a mandate with your drivers that it's a safety issue or labor intensive issue of not having them get out and doing it, we need to communicate that with our citizens. Because they've expected a standard and now the standard changed and no one told them. So
That Councilmember Bass.
So I'm trying to understand the labor piece to it. Is it the labor cost picking it up? Is that the concern?
Labor and time.
Labor and time.
Everybody has extra, and we were, like I said, the drivers were just picking everything up,
Right.
and it was taking longer to finish routes. Our business is growing,
Right.
so we had to do something.
I'm just trying to understand that though. If I move it from one side to the next, wouldn't it be this? I guess that's the piece I'm trying to understand. If I put it with my trash, he or she are still having to get out and pick it up and put it in the.
If you're putting recyclables, if you don't have room in your cart
Right.
and you want to throw it away as trash, and there's no room in your trash cart, then there's those 5 bags that we allow. So we've already accounted for that. If you want to wrap,
Okay.
That's there we go. You just hit the key. I think you just answered his question and cleared mine up. Even though we look at it as one entity, the way the operation is recycle is this, for this amount of stuff and trash is this for this amount of stuff. And correct me if I'm wrong in any of my conversation here, but the way it's budgeted is recycle does X amount and has to be, and I know they have the routes. I know they have, you know, time to get it done and stuff of that nature. But in the way you create rates for us is the recycle guy is going to not have to get out of the truck, yet we know the trash guy potentially will getting out of the truck way more. So that's how you kind of working in the budgets and the corporate stuff that drives everybody crazy. So
We expect more people to have trash than recycle, but
right.
there's a lot vice versa where they do have more recycle.
Yeah.
So
Well, that's what I'm trying to get to. I would love to see that flip, that, you know, down the road someday, that we're grabbing more recycling than we are trash, but I know we're not anywhere close to that stage yet. So Councilmember Wilson.
Well, I'm going to belittle this a little bit more then, because if you have a contract that we have with you, you've priced it out that our customers would be allowed to have trash with 5 bags outside there for every customer within our area. If you've got 1 or 2 that are having to pick up recycle, we don't have every customer leaving 5 bags of trash outside their trash. So I'm going back to Mr. Bass's point about labor, is that it's all labor, and not every stop is to your maximum labor that you're charging us. So that's why I'm coming back to what's wrong with picking up a little bit of recycle. You're not picking up 5 bags of trash at every house.
Yeah, I guess
something we're doing across the board. Like I said, it's not just in Valley, it's citywide.
like within your business structure, do you have, are those 2 separate entities? Do you have a budget for trash and recycling, or is it all in one?
Yeah, we have a budget for both trash and recycling.
Okay.
Councilmember Kerstetter.
I'm just trying to wrap my head around it, and I guess I understands a little better.
Yeah.
So understand it a little better.
I think from our citizens' point of view, as our previous hauler picked it up no matter what. If there was a big box of boxes in there, they would pick it up. And that's kind of where our complaints have been coming from. So that's where we're going.
And in the last few years, recycling there's really nothing,
No, and
money in it. I mean,
I get that.
you guys have a very good rate. If you look into the rates, Wichita, that we're doing, we're charging a lot more.
Anybody else? Well, then, thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Do you want to say something, Mr. Clark?
Yes. I do want to thank Waste Connections and Herschel for the partnership that we do have, you know, for coming in. You know, there was an issue at hand. And so instead of just hiding behind a contract and, you know, waiting until the next go around to renew, you know, willingness to come and have a conversation. And that's what it's about, especially at the local government side, is, you know, being able to throw everything on a table and try to sort through it just like they do at the recycling center. And so we do appreciate everything Waste Connections does do for the community. And our citizens are proud recyclers.
Yeah.
When we were going into this contract or an RFP for services, I mean, we had over 80%, I believe it was, that recycled. That actually every house, there's like 80%. And even Waste Management was blown away by that. That's why the rates were going to go up substantially to over $25 per customer because we are such strong advocates of recycling, which is a positive thing for the environment. And so, you know, those are things that we'll have to look at as we continue through this contract. And as we already probably need to start beginning on reviewing our renewal potentially, or if we're going to go other directions. So great conversation. Appreciate everyone's dialogue. So,
And I do appreciate you coming. That was
Second that.
wonderful of you. Yes.
I appreciate your business.
Yeah. All right.
Herschel.
All right. Thank you again, sir. Appreciate it. All right. Moving on to the public forum. We're at that time of the meeting. If there is anybody here that would like to speak to an item that is not on the agenda, seeing none. We have no appointments. We have no old business. Moving on to new business. Item A, approval of Hornet Hustle Race. Should say Hornet Hustle Race Route, because that's really why you're here to.
That and the assistance of the Valley Center Police Department and making it safe for us. So you guys got the handout or whatever with
Mhm.
our maps and everything. It's the same as last year. We're just going the opposite route or the opposite way if you guys came out there and ran it or participated last year. If you didn't, we'd like to see you out there this year. Do you guys have any questions for us?
Council? Nope. Do we have a motion?
I make a motion of approval of staff assistance needed for the Hornet Hustle on September 9th, 2023.
Second.
I have a motion it's second. Any further discussion? All in favor, raise your hands. Motion carries. Thank you, sir.
We appreciate you. Thank you.
Mhm. Item B, approval of bid for the 2023 Millen Overlay Project.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Council. So we received 3 really good bids for the mill and overlay. There should be in your packet, you will find all those proposals along with a bid tab. And barring any questions, staff recommends the approval of the qualifying bid from Kansas Paving in the amount of $151,627.
Council, I didn't see which light came on first. Councilmember Wilson?
Yes, sir.
Real quick, who did the mill overlay last year?
Pearson.
Pearson did. Okay. All right.
Councilmember Gregory?
Kansas Paving has the pavement marking included on the Second Street, but not on Meadow.
That's because what they'll do is they're only going to do pavement marking. They will restore what's already there. So if there is a pavement marking there, they won't paint any on there.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Anybody else?
I got cut off just a little bit there real quick.
Well, you took a breath, man. If you're done.
Sorry.
Take a breath, you're done.
The only reason, I know he's sharp tonight. The only reason I was asking is that I could have swore that I saw some damage to that overlay around the Wheatland Elementary School on the curve, where I believe it's starting to spider a little bit for some reason. I want to go back and double check, make sure that I didn't miss that. And if Pearson were to get the bid, I would want to try to maybe speak to having that looked at, because I don't know what the warranty is on that overlay. But I think
Pearson representative actually reached out to me.
so they are aware of that issue? Okay. Excellent. Thank you. I'm done now, sir. Go right ahead. Please proceed.
Any further discussion? Do I have a motion?
Move to approve the award of the proposal for the mill and overlay of the selected street segments from Kansas Paving in the amount of $151,627.
Second. I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, raise your hands. Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Item C, discussion and approval of 20-mile-an-hour speed limit within the Cedar Ridge plat.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. So recently, staff had a conversation about Cedar Ridge and the speed limit. It had been driven by a couple. And we talked about it in staff meeting. I went out and drove it last week. And I think, although going in, you could probably do 30 mile an hour comfortably. I think coming out of the development, 30 is too fast, especially on a couple of the curves there. I think 20 is more realistic. So before we get a bunch of houses in there, we thought that we would approach council now and address the speed limit now.
Anybody, council, have any questions before Councilmember Bass?
I did go out and drive it yesterday. And there, on both sides of the road, there's some deep culverts. So, if you're going too fast, especially in inclement weather, you could easily end up in those ditches. So I think it's a good idea.
Councilmember Kerstetter.
Are you done, Mr. Bass?
I am done.
Can you tell I'm moving this along, right?
You got something to do?
No, and I don't even have a time in the pot. I'm not even,
All right, so in the past, we have just kind of curbed this kind of requests and approved one or two and then curbed some of them. And since this is a cul-de-sac, do we really need to, the dead end, do we really need to do any 30 or lower than 30? I guess in short, I'm not really sure I'm in favor of this.
If I don't know if you've driven it.
No, I have not.
Yeah, you-
I didn't even know it was paved that you
It
could, to
doesn't
be
look
honest with
that
you.
long. And like I say, coming in, when I turned into it, I drove, purposely drove 30 and was comfortable. Inclement weather would probably be a different story, but when you're coming out, I think that road's longer than it appears. And a couple of those curves are probably sharper than what the picture does justice. And as Councilmember Bass said, with the steep ditches, and not only that, the road sloping down to allow for drainage, it pulls you right toward that ditch at 30 mile an hour. It can be done, just not safely.
So one more question. Why would we have to post a speed limit when the basic speed limit, Kansas's basic speed limit?
30. The law states 30 unless
30
otherwise
or-
posted.
Well, and then like,
It's otherwise posted.
but correct me if I'm wrong, or it used to be way back in the day, the basic speed limit is don't go any faster than the conditions can allow.
That could happen if in inclement weather, the road's icy.
Right.
We could do that.
So, but if your
Uh,
curves are not allowing you to go faster, then, so that's one thought I have. The other thought I have is if we're going to approve this one, then we need to revisit Reflection Ridge, or what is that one over? Ridgefield, thank you. Wrong Ridge.
There's, I think, so the standard is 30 mile an hour in residential. And I think it's easier to take these, one at a time. Those are two different areas. The road in Ridgefield is much wider. It does not have the curves as sharp as this. It doesn't have the deep ditches on either side like this. And so I think addressing them, individually, unless you're going to look at, lowering the entire speed limit in the town, I think it's a better approach to address each one as they come up.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, okay.
And if we did, each area we address and change has to be posted.
Right. Makes sense. I'm just not in favor of,
Have you driven it yet?
I have not.
Yeah.
Like I said, I didn't know it was open that you could, and I
Well, that
know I
would
can't
make-
afford those houses, so why try?
Yeah. No, I did drive it too. And it was actually a thought in my mind thinking 30 was probably not going to cut it in this neighborhood, but I didn't mention it and I was surprised to see it. But Councilmember Anderson.
Where would how often do you have to post the sign? Is it something you just post at the entrance?
Yeah, we could post it at the
Okay.
entrance.
I didn't know if we've had
I
any
mean, you
discussion
could-
with the
unless,
developer.
Mr. Arbuckle says different. I mean, the entrance is going to address it for anyone coming in. We could do it at the opposite end as well, just to make sure people remember. But if it's posted at the entrance, it's not that far in that they're going to forget the speed limit.
And just so council, knows as well, this is, so then we can draft an ordinance, to present to you at a future council meeting. So, it will then give you an opportunity to really drive, drive it and feel for it yourself. This did come from my recommendation just after it was paved, and then really seeing it after the ditches were graded, and knowing that there'll probably be a time where those residents will kind of come and just like Fiddler's Creek. Fiddler's Creek wants, 20 miles an hour because Prairie Lakes did, and because there's no sidewalks. And so just trying to be a little bit more proactive than this one before any houses go in. I just saw, with no sidewalks on this stretch of road, with it being a little bit narrower and just the way that drives, every road drives different. Now I won't publicly admit what I was able to take it at in the expedition. But I think the safest would be at 20. But yeah, you can, have the opportunity to go drive it yourself. And then we do have to pass this via ordinance. So really a good, conversation here as well. So sorry, Chief.
Councilmember Anderson.
I think it's better to do it up front before we have any development in there. But the other thing is, we faced this in Prairie Lakes when the citizens came to us. If it's posted 30 and they're going 30, but that seems faster with you have people out on the streets, you've got to have the speed limit set so you can enforce it. And that's basically what this is for. So you have a way to enforce a reasonable speed limit. And otherwise, we're going to have to come back later. I think it makes sense to do it up front.
Councilmember Stamm?
Has staff or anyone thought about if there's going to be no parking posted? Are you going to allow parking on the street?
Great point.
Because having cars parked there, yes, I agree. But if it's open, I mean, it's no different than doing some curves around town with cars parked on both sides of the road. You got another car coming. It's same situation. I mean,
There are curves like this in town. I agree with that. I don't think you have the road slanting toward the ditches, this style of ditch like this anywhere else in town. With that, added in those three things together with the curve, the slant of the road going toward the ditch, and then in the deep ditches themselves. That was my concern driving it. And I was surprised, and I was really surprised coming in how it didn't feel the same, but going out 30 mile an hour, it definitely pulled right. It wanted to take you right.
I haven't driven
toward
my
the
car.
ditch.
I rode my bicycle up there Saturday or Sunday. And of course, on a bike, it's hard to determine, but I was going down the hills at 41 mile an hour on my bike, and I was putting along there. But I will go ride it tomorrow.
City Administrator Clark mentioned, you could probably navigate that quicker, but I think it depends on the vehicle for sure. And a bicycle, yeah, motorcycle probably. A truck is not comfortable. Cars probably feels different than a truck even. It definitely pulled me right, and it gave me concern. And so we wanted to try to address that now instead of later, if accidents were to occur.
How wide a street is it again? Back to back?
It's is it not the standard width?
It'll be on the Jerry.
That's fine.
Yeah, just zoom in on that. That's the right.
What, 70 foot right away?
So the right of way is 70, but the paved is shorter.
Generally, it's 24. And see, there's more curves.
Councilmember Bass?
Yeah, for what it's worth, I'm not a big proponent of this. Like if this was my own neighborhood, I'd vote no. But having driven it, I do feel that 20 is pretty fair. So for anyone that's having reservations.
Councilmember Kerstetter?
Can you pull up the GIS again? And this is going to be for Mr. Schrack question. These houses, how they're not are they the standard from the street to the front of the house of 25-ish feet, or are they less or more?
So this neighborhood is zoned RR1, and so the front setback is more than 25, which is what R1B is, which is most of the single-family homes in the city of Valley Center. That front setback is 25 feet. These are 35.
Okay.
So they are farther set back. And our understanding from the developer is also that with these larger lots, they are looking to have longer driveways. So you may not, on some of these lots, you may not even be able to see the house from the street itself.
Right.
Just based on what the feedback we've received from them. But at a minimum, that front setback would be 35 feet.
So I still don't see why 30, you can't have 30. Again, I guess I should drive it when I have free time.
Drive it on the way home.
No, that's out of the way. But I believe the developer made these lots large enough that we don't need to really even talk about this. Now, we might need to talk about it for Fiddler's Creek because those are, it's just a different neighborhood, and that's fine for another date. But I still don't know if we really need to adjust this. Maybe in a year or two when these are fully developed that they want to come to us. It's the HOA, correct? The HOA wants to come to us and say, hey, I think we should have a 20 or 25, then we can address it at that time. But That's my opinion. But
I don't think our concern is not with the houses or even traffic entering the roadway. The concern is the roadway and the safety on those curves
and I
specifically.
appreciate you being proactive. But knowing what these houses are going to go for, I don't think we're going to have races on it. You might be right. I might be surprised, but that's my 2 cents for whatever it's worth.
A penny and a quarter.
I was going to say a penny.
I gave you a little more credit. Councilmember Gregory.
But we need to consider inexperienced drivers in maybe a vehicle they're not used to. We need to provide some kind of guidance. And I think that's what the chief is trying to do here. If I'm wrong,
No,
sorry.
You're exactly right. Yeah, I think we're just trying to be proactive with anybody. In my experience in writing tickets in the past, speeding's not based on income. It's anybody can do that. So I'm more worried about the ditches and the accidents at the curves.
Councilmember Bass.
The last time I talked on the subject, is this just a motion to give you all authority to write an ordinance and then we'll vote again? Or is this just?
Guidance to direct us either to spend the time to write the ordinance to change, to set the speed limit or not.
And that would give time for if we give you approval to do that, I know it takes time to draft it, but then it would give everyone up here the opportunity, if we allow that to happen, then to go drive it and then make a final determination. So.
And if you want to just table this and not even give direction and then bring it back under old business and then draft an ordinance, potentially after that. I mean, we're in no time crunch or hurry on these. Electrical and Evergy still have to get up there and do things. So, we have plenty of time to kind of have everybody have an opportunity to go drive it in different conditions. So we could absolutely just table this as is, put it on, the next meeting date. And then bring it up and just discuss it again and then draft an ordinance. So then we're not wasting anybody's time with drafting an ordinance. If that's the direction you so choose to go. So.
Councilmember Colbert.
Yeah, it's a little bit off the subject, but on this road here, there is no curbing going along,
Correct. No curve.
There is a rock shoulder that's not on this.
just the rocks.
Correct. No actual curb.
Okay, so if you're going 30 miles an hour coming around the curve and you hit that rock, because a lot of people, when they drive, the tendency is to go to the right or left, depending on what the turn is. You hit that rock, you're going in the ditch on there. So 20 miles an hour, you still could go in the ditch, but at least you'd be a lot quicker to respond to it. Just a thought.
Have you talked to the developer about this?
They had no preference.
Okay. Can the question about parking kind of got to me too. Can you see if their HOAs are going to address that in any way about parking on the street? Because they can.
Yeah, legally it can. And so, like Mr. Schrack had mentioned, these lots, they're kind of intended to be more that 400 feet off of the roadway. And so I think if they're going to have guests and those things, those folks would be parking along off of the roadway.
You would hope.
But yes, absolutely.
Just find that out, as if you wouldn't mind. I am leaning towards allowing us to go ahead and table this, but under the condition that we all get the chance that you have it to drive that and drive it in the right lane that where you're supposed to be and at speed of 30 miles an hour and give us your opinion. I did do this a while back because I saw it was paved and I just wanted to go back there and see what it looked like back there. And I wasn't even doing 30. And the thought that went through my head is, wow, 30 is going to be too fast for this. So this picture does not do justice on the pitch of that road. I can tell you that right now.
I wasn't ready
do pictures. So
Well, that's okay, but there's no way a 2D picture is going to depict the actual pitch in that road. So my suggestion would be to go ahead and table this and ask each and every one of you to please drive that in the lane as you're supposed to and at speed, and we can bring it back at the next meeting and have a little more discussion.
Drive it at 20 and 30.
Yeah. And 50 if you like, but we're not coming to get you out of the ditch.
It's 30 unless.
I know, it's 30 unless even though it's not being used yet. Right, the speed limit on that road is 30. I get it now.
Mr. Clark, did you catch that?
On the record.
No comment.
That's the fifth.
So, council, if you,
Motion to table
till the next
till
meeting.
next meeting.
Second.
Motion is second to table. All in favor, raise your hands. Motion carries. Thank you. All right, moving along to the consent agenda.
Motion to approve consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Have a motion and have a motion and a second. All in favor, raise your hand. Motion carries. Thank you very much. Moving on to staff reports. Mr. Schrack.
Good evening again. Just wanted to provide a brief recap for the home show. Again, thank you to all the volunteers, including those on council that took time out of their schedules over that Thursday through Sunday to help work the booth. Really appreciate it. Handed out a lot of gift bags, and we had our gift basket drawing. In case you haven't watched the Facebook Live video, it is available on the city's Facebook page. We did our Facebook Live video drawing this morning, and Mr. Andy Quant of Woodchuck Firewood. And if you know Andy, he was the lucky winner of this year's gift basket. So again, it's always a wonderful time to showcase the community and to showcase our new subdivisions, the city's housing incentive program, the school districts. While I was there, I actually got to speak with some people that are looking for jobs as substitute teachers and got to give them some information for our school districts. So again, thank you, and look forward to doing the booth again next year.
Thank you. Mr. Owings.
Evening, Mayor and Council. So while you all are on your tours of that new development, you might want to swing by out at 85th and the Broadway new welcome sign and take a look at all the trees that have been planted here in the last few days. We had a few that came early, and then we've had the majority of them that have come here just since yesterday. So we've got just a few more to install. The electrical and the remaining few trees were kind of in conjunction of each other, kind of close. And so one had to kind of give there. So we're not quite finished with that yet. But the electrical is moving along with that sign. That should be coming along soon. And then shortly to follow will be landscape and irrigation. And we will hopefully get ready to move on to the 77th Street sign shortly thereafter, I'm hoping. So we know that sign is finished and it's waiting. It's to find its new home down there at 77th and Broadway. So a couple other projects to update you on. Over at McLaughlin Park, we tried something new. We installed a new cornhole game in place of an old worn out area where we used to have a horseshoe pit that was really just underutilized. So we're anxious to see how well that goes over and see if that seems to be a pretty popular thing right now. So we wanted to try one of those out, and staff recently put that in. It's adjacent to the basketball goal area there at McLaughlin Park. So that's one other project we've been working on is actually completed today. So really excited about that. One of the other projects that we have recently finished was the completion of the loop at the Wetland Park. We got millings all the way around that whole trail now. We still have some piles out there that we have yet to spread and fill in on some of the thinner spots around there at the park, but we're definitely really excited about the trail. I think we're going to name it after Matt, who has logged countless hours spreading millings along that trail over the last couple of years. So anyways, really excited to have that down. I mean, that's been a long time in the making. So Wanted to update you a little bit about the pool project there at Lions Park. They're making great strides there. If you haven't been by or able to see it, I mean, it is fenced off, but you can kind of see some of the things that have been going on. The expansion joints have been cut out and replaced. They're working vigorously on, getting that vessel ready and kind of starting to put some of the finishing touches on that. They're moving on to the deck space, expanding that to the north, getting ready for new light poles. Fencing has all been taken down on around the existing pool, so they're prepped and ready for that. Seems like there's one other thing there. That's kind of the gist of it right now. Things are going really well. I seem to be on schedule with things. So we're excited about that. The committee did meet, the Pool and Rec Committee did meet last Wednesday and had a discussion, really good discussion on the full design plans that we were presented with last meeting. And just a lot of good feedback and information was presented to the architects and the contractors there. And they're not fully complete. I don't remember what percentage are they at. I think it's over 50%, but they're getting much closer, ready to, 70, I was thinking 70, 80, getting really close to starting to bid some of those components out, specifically the electrical, because there's such long lead times on some of those components that we're waiting on. I'd stand for any questions.
Don't see any. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Chief Newman. Mr. Eggleston.
So it is fun to announce they're moving along on all these projects so fast that these pictures are obsolete by the time I put them up there and I stand up here against the podium. They've almost got it all paved out to Seneca already. They're working on connecting the realignment with North Seneca. Right now, they got that closed in. Boy, you go out there, that thing looks huge. I don't know if anybody else, it just seems gigantic and wide. The Arbor Valley's all paved. The first phase one, and there, matter of fact, they have a basement dug out there already. So the Marquez Acres, they're digging basements out there. And Meese Construction, they're not letting any grass grow under their feet, working on that sewer line and down there by on Dexter. So things are moving along great. Other than that, I would stand for questions.
Councilmember Kerstetter has one.
So I was going north on Seneca, north of 5th Street.
Yes, sir.
And I looked off onto the ditch and there's a maybe 50 yards or so on the east side. There's a little, looks like erosion that you might want to look at.
Okay.
It's before the doctor's office entrance,
Perfect.
but it is on the east side. And it just looked like it's either fresh dirt there because it was kind of dark, or it's got quite a bit of erosion that would erode our roadway pretty quickly.
We'll check it out.
So that's
Thank
all
you.
I got.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. Shear. Mr. Arbuckle. Did I miss anybody?
Mr.
No.
Smith isn't here.
Oh, then I didn't miss anybody.
Yeah.
Okay. Mr. Clark.
I
All right, moving on to governing body reports. If he's
Just, I really don't have much.
Great.
Just really, trying to figure out, there's such a light agenda. We really
What's your time?
long.
What's your time?
But no, actually,
Moving on to governing body reports.
this Thursday, we are going to be doing our telethon for PBS. And so we do still need a few more people to do the telethon. That is really fun. Isn't it, Councilmember Gregory? I mean,
It is.
Councilmember Evans, Councilmember Wilson. I mean, it's been Councilmember Colbert usually goes to, and it's a great time. And so we are still looking for about 4 people. So if you do want to do that on Thursday evening, I think it's from 6:15 to 9. So we'd love to have you. And also, Thursday is another very special day. It is Mr. Ryan Track's birthday. So happy early birthday, sir. Happy early birthday. I'll stand for any questions.
I see none. Thank you, sir. All right, we'll move on to governing body reports. I have nothing. Councilmember Stam?
I have nothing.
Councilmember Evans?
I have nothing.
Councilmember Bass?
Nothing from me.
Councilmember Anderson?
No, thank you.
Councilmember Gregory?
Just a reminder that the Sedgwick County Association of Cities meeting is this Saturday, the 11th, in Park City at 8:30 a.m.
At their city hall.
at their city hall. Yes.
Councilmember Kerstetter?
I have nothing.
Councilmember Wilson?
I'm good, sir. Thank you.
And Councilmember Colbert?
If there's no other further action, I make a motion the meeting be adjourned.
Second.
I have a motion, a second to adjourn. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay.